So as mentioned before, one of the challenges with this function is that it already looks analytical.
Yeah.
Right. Or analytic. Extroverted thinking or effectiveness does. But Dario says, instead of thinking of it as already analytical, think of it more in terms of empirical and also effective, right?
Mhm.
It's a function that is trying to make things happen. It's already goal oriented, but its desire is progress and impact and getting to the end of something as a general rule in the best way possible. How do we make things happen? So uh, the analytic version of extroverted thinking is almost like that on crack, right?
Yeah.
Dario calls it the manager type or the manager flavor. So take all of that assertive, confident, right, like pushing energy out, being very goal focused and oriented, and really pushing and driving towards that, and being top down and more leadership oriented. Like take all of that energy and then apply it to something that already has a tendency to go that direction. And now you've got like the nth degree of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's sort of the way that I'm understanding the combination of these two energies. So what does that look like? It looks like being really committed to main goals and sub goals, right? It's like a true commitment to making things happen. And it can get really specific, right, of the thing that it's trying to make happen. It's also a person who has no problem directing others. This is that leadership component of extroverted thinking or effectiveness. It's usually the analytic version that is really pushing not just the self and not just driven on one's own, but also like recruiting others to get in there and get all these energies towards one thing that's big. And that's one of the reasons why analytic extroverted thinking or effectiveness, particularly when it's given the right resources, can make extraordinarily big things happen. It's a combination of these energies that are already, sort of like they're already kind of that way anyway. And so now it's an exponential of that. It can feel a little bulldozing.
Yeah.
Because it is so focused. It's very focused also on the business of living. That's how Dario describes it, the business of living. So it's like a business mindset applied to almost everything. And an actual business, that's obvious, right? And he mentions just like a company can go bankrupt, it's also seeing everything else as being able to go bankrupt. Like people can go bankrupt. They can be morally, emotionally, socially, or physically bankrupt. And so it's a desire to manage and drive themselves and others and utilize all these resources to get things done towards fixed goals with that business mindset, focused on consequences, focused on contingency plans, really strongly confident around ideas. And these are the people who are usually very good at explaining things.
Yeah.
Yeah. He mentions that they are almost always the people who talk confidently and break things down and explain things so that other people can understand them. But one should not mistake it for accuracy, since the data and analysis is often second or third hand. So it's not introverted thinking or accuracy. It is definitely distinctive from it, but it is a function that's usually very good at explaining and breaking things down. And that also makes it highly desirable for leadership.
By the way, we are starting something very new here at Personality Hacker. Now, you might be listening to this years from now, and so it's something that's gone on for a while. But as of the time of this recording, it's fairly new. We're starting up an experience of our podcast live once a week online in a virtual format. So what we're doing is we're gathering a group of like minds to come together once a week to watch this podcast together. And then right afterward, we have a membership program where people can come. It's called a personality quest. And we talk about the podcast right afterward. We unpack the learning from it, how we can apply it to our lives. And then we give the entire group of people that have gathered an assignment or a challenge for that week, some journal prompts and some reflection, but also a challenge that week to go test out in their real life, to go explore in the world. All of us are going to do the same challenge that week. And we come back the following week, we talk about it, unpack it, and we get the learning from it. And every week getting together to do this, we've already been doing a few weeks. It's been fantastic. I've loved doing it. It's awesome to see people come and gather live to watch the podcast, talk about it, and go do challenges in their own lives. You should be a part of this. If you're listening or you're watching, we want you to be part of it. Currently, we're doing it on Sundays. You can find out more information and be part of Personality Quest if you come over to personalityhacker.com/quest. And you can learn all about the quests and what we're doing there and get yourself involved, because I think you're going to love this experience, especially if you've loved the podcast and you love personality types and personal growth and the intersection of those two things. It's one of the things that I am super excited about going forward with. So, and there's going to be some live elements to that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we've got planned around this. But right now we're just starting with these weekly gatherings, and I'd love for you to be involved. Yeah. So simplification, sometimes oversimplification is most likely. And what I also hear in this is applying metrics to everything, KPIs, key performance indicators, even to things like your romantic relationship. Like probably seeing it through the lens of like, okay, how well is that being measured? How well is it going in this like very thinker way? Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's trying to almost, if I don't have a measurement, I'll make one up and apply it. That's how much I need to measure everything toward the progress that I want as the outcome.
Yep. Relying on heuristics and formulas for almost everything.
Yeah. Okay.
And so there's a lot to be said, a lot of positive to be said about somebody who uses analytic extroverted thinking. I mean, I kind of feel like these are some of the people who make the world go round, right? They get things done, and we see evidence of it all over the place. But some of the challenges is that I thought this was a very interesting way of communicating it. The telltale sign of an analytic version of extroverted thinking is that the users sort on empirical factors such as speed, usefulness, profit, and accuracy, but tend to really prioritize speed and profit. It can bulldoze and even deliberately build in suffering and failure structurally. There's easily an efficient inhumanity to it. So I think this is when people find that portion off-putting, this is where we get stereotypes around TJs.
Yeah.
Is that they're seeing this function highly analytic without any holistic influence in it. And some other types can take exception to that.
Yeah. I think the good example of that is Vietnam War. Robert McNamara. Robert McNamara and some of the other powers that be in the Pentagon don't have a measurement for who's winning the war. So they just start to decide, well, we'll just do body count. If did our side kill more of them than their side killed of us, and we'll report it on the nightly news. My mom tells stories about literally on the nightly news, they're giving body count reports on how well we're doing in the war, completely ignoring the fact that these are human lives being lost, as if, oh, these are just numbers. These are percentages, that's all we're looking at here, but those are real people. Right. And so I think you can lose sight of some of the real suffering of human in that whole system that's running.
Yeah, that would be a really imbalanced, one-sided version of analytic extroverted thinking.
Yeah.
And it can get pretty bad, just like all of them can. I mean, once we start talking about the judging functions, whenever it's one-sided, I mean, you even saw that to some extent with the perceiving functions, right? Tunnel vision for analytic introverted intuition, laziness for the holistic version, right?
Yeah.
Over promotion for the analytic extroverted intuition, that kind of thing. So all the one-sided components can have something sort of like not very nice things attached to them. And I think this is the first example we have of the judging functions on it. But I think all of them, when they're one-sided, can lead to very bad things. And this would be this version.